Hi, Dana. Thank you for your work. Take a short video about explaining a little modify of the things that I think it need to be adjusted. So most of the things about like making proper gaps in the actual 3D printing, and some of the structure are too thin, so it is unable to print it out. And although it's printed out, it's just like too weak, so it will be easily to broke. The first thing what I really like is about you created like a complex structure and using a revolve to make a clip. But when I see this structure, the sketch 23, 2025, then it is too small, like too thin, as you can see here. The gap between these two lines are only 0.3, so it is impossible. And in the reality, it's also really, really thin. So I recommend although it needs to be a little like flexibility, but still it need to be a little stronger than this. So at least like 1 millimeters or so far. And I think if you need like a more like flexibilities, then I recommend you create some holes in the center later. I will show on. So first, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna increase like this inside sketch more thicker. So I'm gonna using offset tool to increase it. And I'm not gonna select the chain selection because if I select the chain selection, then it will select every things. So I'm gonna just select line one by one. So this line, this, this. Lines are that I'm gonna make offset for it. And I'm gonna thicken to like 1 millimeter to the back to make it thicker. And then I will just add some extra components in here to make sure it's connect each other. Also, same thing happens to here. So I'll extend this part. So it will match what's here. So I'm gonna thicken this part more. And another thing is like if you creating this structure in this part, then it is really hard to take it out because you need some more little slipperies. Because if it's like this, a sharp edges angle, then it is easy to fit in, but it will be really, really hard to take it out. But in reality, we need to take it out. So I recommend you have some little more sliding structure like this. So to help that it is more easy to take out than before. So I will just like a little adjustment here first. And then I will change, as you can see now, the revolving shape is thicker. And the second thing I like about you using a combine tool to dig in the holes in here to the upper body. But in reality, the 3D printer make a little bit bigger on the outside and a little bit smaller for the holes. So if I make the model the exact same size, then it won't match in reality because of the plastic expand. So we need to make an offset gap between each other. So you need to make a gap for it. And usually if you're making those two get really tight, then I recommend about 0.3. However, our case is like we need to making a little more flexibilities and the clip structure. So I'll give you a little bit more offset bigger than 0.3. So first thing is like I can making a just sketch from here to make another draw offset line for it. But there's a much easier way in these cases because in here you can call pull and press pull, which is like this is like a drag change of the position of the selected plane that you select. So if, for example, if I select this plane, and you can easily to drag it, make it thicker or thinner as you wish. And in our cases, I'm gonna secure this part, the hole inside, to make it deeper. So to make sure that we're making an extra gap in here. And usually if you want to make a tight fit, then I recommend 0.3. But in our cases, it need a little bit bigger than that. So I will probably go for 0.5 or 0.4 in these cases. And I'll go for 0.4 because like if 0.5 is too loose, then the lid on the top won't function as you designed in the first. So I will just go for 0.4 offset in here to make sure that it will have a tight fit, but still too loose to make it out. So this is like two little small adjusting in a real life tip, and rest of thing I really liked about it, and I think it is really good idea. And the second thing I want to mention is like if you make like this like a holes in here, and since 3D printer plastic is kind of PLA is really hard plastic, so it won't have that much flexibilities than as you've seen in the before. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna making a hole to divide it, this clip structure to make sure to increase the flexibility. And you will see later, you understand structure after I made it. So I'm gonna making one extrude line here and using a project tool to making a center line. And I'm gonna digging a hole in the center. So I'll making a guide line to the top. And I will just draw a small rectangle from here. And I'll making a gap for 3 millimeter. The height won't, it is not important because my main purpose is to dig a straight holes in the center. So as long as it is higher than the structure, then it is fine. Then I'm going to use an extrude tool and like dig holes like here and using a symmetry to make sure I will expand on the both side to making a hole. So I will like digging a hole in like this. So as you can see here now, it will have so much more flexibilities than before. But I think this is not enough, so I'm gonna make another holes in here. You can just creating a new planes on the left side and creating a new sketch, but there's a more convenient function called the pattern, and you're going to use the circular pattern because the pattern is not only copying in the bodies that we created, but also we can copy the tools that we just use, which we call it the feature. And the feature is like basically the history lines tool that used in the before. So in our cases, I'm gonna copying the making a whole commander that I just use it. So I select the objects in the beneath this history line, and I'll select the axis, the center axis. Then as you can see, creating and mimicking the punching hole punching hole mechanism, but in a rotating angle like circular patterns. And if you click OK, then you, as you can see here, you will making a hole to punch through the 3 different directions because I set it for quantity 3. But in our cases, I think quantity 3 is a little bit too much. So I will just go for maybe quantity 2 or to make sure cross. But I'll just double check for the diameters for this structure. So radius diameter is about 26, so it is quite small. 26 is quite small, I guess. So yeah, in this case, I think if I make 3 structure, then it might be too much and a little bit weak. So I will probably go for not 3, but like make punching a hole in the 2. So making I will split the clipping structure into the 4 like this, as you can see, and using turn on the analysis tool for double checking. And I will just check for the distance between the inner surface and the outer surface. The gap is 1.0 3, as you can see in here. So it is enough gap for it. So, but, and yeah, now I think it is ready to go for it. And the thing you mentioned about making a pattern on the side, right? The check patterns, waffle patterns. Uh, you can use like similar strategy to as I done before. They're using a circular pattern. So I will show you how and briefly in here. So first, I was just creating a sketch in here in the front view, and I was using a project tool to making to set a outer line for it. And I'm gonna make circular patterns to here and here. And as you, if you may imagine about it, then it will waffle pattern is like you basically making these small holes in the inside. So I'll just do the same thing. And if you select the entities, then it's basically follow along the sketch lines. And if you select the bodies, then if you, and you select this one, then it automatically make project for the whole profiles of that body. As you can see now, it's making a straight, automatically creating a contour outlines of it. And what we're gonna do is like, I'm gonna creating a like a small waffle pattern inside, like this. And I'm gonna using a revolve to cut this waffle pattern. In our cases, I'm gonna make maybe three, 1, 2, and 3 in the middle. So I'll just using a small pattern here, and to make sure using a diameter tool to double check for it whether this and this distance is not too far, because we made in a shell for 2 millimeter. So I'm gonna make really small in this case is like 0.4. Make sure I'm not digging too much. And also I'm gonna creating small holes in here as well. And the tip to draw, make sure in the perpendicular parallel with this two line is like you can set in here in the constraint called parallel. And like now, as you can see, these icons are already set. So if you click one line and click another line, then these two lines will be parallel, as you can see. So I'll just do this line and this line as well for double checking. And I'm gonna do on the top. And as you can see, like I'll just like draw some like random shape and using a parallel to make sure that these two lines are parallel to each other. And I want to dig like a straight holes. So I will using a perpendicular tool to click these two lines to make this angles 90 degrees. And I'm going to using a diameter tool to make sure that this two lines gap is like 0.4 as before. And also same thing will happen to this side as well. So using perpendicular tool to make sure that these lines are straight holes. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna using revolve tool. Normally if I using revolve tool and set the axis to the center, then it will cut the whole through. So this is not what we want, because like we want to cut only small part of it, not the full circle part, as you see here right now. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna using a partial, not full cut, and you can change the degrees of it. As you can see, you can set the how many angles that you want to cut it. So I'm not gonna go for full cut, but I'm gonna only go for like small cut here. And since I want to have like a symmetric pattern, so we're gonna use symmetric as well. And since this hole is a little too much, so I'm gonna go for small holes. Yeah, I think 10 degrees fine for me, I guess. So, and you can set for a cut. And as you can see now, we make a small hole, like one waffle patterns. and double checking for our analysis that we didn't dig for too deep inside. And since this is little far, so I'll be using a fillet tool to modify the inner part and outer part as well. The one tip in here is like if you select the face and using a fillet tool, then what it does is like it automatically fillet all the near edges that connect to this surface that you selected. So in this cases will be, for example, if I select this face and set the fillet for it, and as you can see, it automatically convert all the fillets nearby. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna fillet this, 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 this lines. So making waffle a little bit roundish. And that goes on here as well. I'll just let's first select all the small edges here first. Small fillet. I made a little mistake here when I do the revolve because I only select the smart part, so make sure it's all full cut. And then using a fillet again to making a small. Sometimes it is make sure to select to watch out where's the details and thinking about the histories of your work. So making like 0.5 here as well, or like a little bit bigger. But I'll go for 0.4 all three. And now I create like the same patterns for one on the three tops. And I'm gonna do the same thing as before using a circular patterns to make punching this hole through all. So same like circular pattern and set for the features. And you can also select like three different tools all at once. Because like the first I use a revolve tool to make holes, and then I using a two fillet to making the punching hole more roundish. And then using a center tool, center lines in here. And as you can see, it automatically make this round all in edges in the preview, and I'll just extend it to maybe 4, 5, 6, maybe 9, 10, 11, 12. I think 12 looks good for me. You can adjust by yourself anytime you want and press OK. Then as you can see now here, it makes some beautiful waffle patterns on here. And I'll just make the top corner edge a little bit, give some small edges, because like although you want to leave the edge really, really sharp, in reality, the edges will be have small fillets unless it is like a knife sharp edges. So I'll just put like 0.5. And later on, this helped you on the rendering part as well. So yeah, I think this is now and like looks like the design shape of you what we want in the first time. So I'll just save for it. And I'll export you these files, and hopefully this video is helping you to see it. Thanks so much for it.